Can you beat Deltarune with only Ralsei? In battle, only Ralsei will be allowed to use the menu. Everyone else will only defend unless absolutely necessary. Let's get it. The story begins mostly the same as any usual playthrough, with an exception in the first mandatory battle, where Chris holds their shield up for a couple of turns while Susie beats the crap out of Lancer. After, our DPS, healer, and tank, Ralsei, joins the party. I check our starting gear, which is nothing, and proceed on. Our second fight is a non-mandatory one with a couple of root-ins. I attempt to honor Ralsei's wishes to resolve battles non-violently, but I'm quickly reminded Ralsei is unable to act and instead may cast one of two spells: Pacify, which spares a tired enemy, and Heal Prayer, which heals an ally. So basically it heals Ralsei. And so I abandon Ralsei's hopes and dreams of a non-violent run and begin attacking. But that's when we're introduced to a game mechanic I had completely forgotten about. Bringing an enemy down to low HP is one way to apply the tired status to them, and once they're tired, Ralsei can pacify. I use this strategy for these two root-ins, and root-in and Hathy a bit further down the path. We encounter C round, and... look, it was either me or Susie. We buy 2 defensive armors for Ralsei from the shop, and hit our next required battle on the next screen. Normally, we'd want to warn the enemies about Susie, but we can't do that because it's not an option in Ralsei's menu. So we're officially a neutral route now, baby! Next battle is K round with a required acting tutorial. Clover is next and can be punched and pacified. I fight Susie and Lancer because I'm not on that pacifist route anyway. Ralsei isn't in this next fight, so it doesn't matter. After this, I take a brief pit stop to assemble the Jevil key. It's not required to beat the chapter, I just wanted to see what the Jevil fight is like. We are not fighting Jevil. Back onto the main story with a second K-round fight. And now to King. This fight goes by quickly as there isn't much to it besides defend, scarf hit. However, as long as I survive King's attacks, it doesn't really matter what I do. The battle is scripted to end after a number of turns have passed. And that's it for Chapter 1. It was a fun and not too difficult intro to the challenge. Now, let's see what happens in... So I learned after completing Chapter 2 that there's a significant skip that allows you to go straight to Queen's Mansion from the Sweet Cap'n Cake's bagel sale room, which means we could have avoided the Sweet Cap'n Cake's battle where the only way to win is to have Susie and Ralsei use their newly acquired action ability to act on the same turn as Chris. Either way, the only other required fight in between here and the castle is Birdly, and here's how that went. Birdly is possible to beat with acting thanks to our action. Just takes a bit longer to get that mercy meter up to 100%, as Ralsei is the only one able to bump Birdly's cart. And then there is a long section with just Chris and Noelle, which isn't applicable to the challenge, and I played normally. Once inside the castle, I backtrack to begin the Spamton quest. I think it'll be worth it to fight Spamton, as he gives one of Ralsei's strongest weapons if beaten with violence, and we will definitely need the attack power in later chapters. Soon, we reach the fight, and it's time to see what we're dealing with. A non-critical hit attack from Ralsei does 78 damage, while a correctly timed crit does 98. Needless to say, we will want to get as many crits as possible, but either way, this is going to take a while. What will be most important is learning the bullet patterns and becoming consistent enough at avoiding damage to last us the duration of the battle. In attempt 1 and attempt 2, I go down to the phone hand attack after getting Spamton's health to around 80%. On attempt number 3, I still struggle with the phone hands, but with the help of plenty of healing items, I get him down to 75%, 50%, and then 25% health. 4 more turns of attacking later, and then we hit him for his last 3% of health. For our efforts, we are awarded with a Shadow Crystal and the Puppet Scarf, which again is a big attack increase for Ralsei. Back to Queen's Mansion, we fight Mousewheel and get stronger because apparently it doesn't get tired. We lose the moral victory against rules, Where Wire is another case of pacifism by convenience, and then we begin the final segment of this chapter with a battle with Queen. Birdly proves I'm still terrible at dodging his attacks, and Queen's shield definitely caused a few issues, and there were several close calls where I almost lost, but we prevail and move on to Giga Queen. This fight is technically completable with our original rule set. It just means I don't have access to healing, and I miss out on doing a bit more damage each turn. This battle takes several more tries than 10-year-old 1,000 hours in Super Punch-Out me would care to admit. But it's completed, and that's another chapter done. Once we are in game board 1, our first encounter is with 2 shadow guys. Each is an easy 2-turn act and then pacify. For El Niña and La Niño, we just need to wait the 4 turns before the battle ends on its own. And after the rest of the board, we soon find ourselves in the green room. I head into the S-rank room to start the mantle minigame, as its reward is the Shadow Mantle, which is an armor we'll definitely want for later. After that, we move on to board 2. Our first required encounter is with 3 Pippins. An R action does 50% mercy to 1 Pippins, so the whole battle takes 9 turns. Our next encounter is with Shutta. Our fastest option for finishing the fight is to raise its mercy meter 5% at a time until we can spare. It's another long battle that isn't too difficult, but it is time consuming. And that's the last battle encounter for the board, so we finish the rest up and then get sent back to the green room. I do another step in the mantle quest, and then we move on to the final portion of chapter 3 already. For these first few battles where Tenna has us trapped, we lose access to everything except the Chris Act menu. So these battles are resolved in the same way as in a standard playthrough. Next is another encounter with rules. He removes our ability to defend with Chris and Susie, so I play the battle as normal. I finish up Mantle, and then it's on to Tenna. I lose once while choosing a strategy, and then settle on using Violence. Battle is worryingly slow going until Tenna reaches half HP. After this, his turns will send us to physical challenges, which greatly increase our score. So much so, in fact, that we were able to raise it beyond the 1,000-point threshold and defeat him that way. Lastly, it's on to the Roaring Knight, who may look intimidating, but this is a forced loss situation, so we're all good. Chapter 3 is complete. Our first encounter is with a couple of Guays that each take 4 turns to defeat peacefully. Next up are 2 Balthazards. I lose once attempting to act only, which would take 5 turns each. And then I switch to Tried and True Pacify, which only takes 3 turns each. And I stick with this strategy throughout the other encounters, leading to Gerson's Study and to Jackenstein. Here, I learned that after 9 mazes, Jack will have no more and only do a simple bullet pattern instead. After this, there's another gameplay section without Ralsei in the party, so we complete that. And then our next required fight for the chapter is all the way at the midpoint of the Titan climb. 2 Titan spawn appear, and what is normally a fairly quick encounter makes me very worried for what is to come immediately after. Ralsei cannot purify the spawn on his own, so violence is the only way to end this battle. It takes 13 minutes of constantly attacking. And that makes it seem we are looking at the very least, a 30-minute Titan fight. Assuming we can even survive that long. The Titan's 3 attacks are certainly not the most difficult bullet patterns we've seen, and we can equip the Shadow Mantle to reduce the dark type damage we'll take. Even so, mistakes can still add up quickly. Round 1 ends after an unpromising 3% of damage done. Another attempt begins, and slowly but surely we begin to bring the Titan's health down further than we ever have before. After 39 minutes, we deal a final blow to put the Titan at 50% HP, and the battle is won. Once the old man appears, the fight can only end one way. What a way to end. With the way each chapter was going, I was worried this challenge wasn't going to have a wall. Sure, Ralsei only had made things more difficult, but nothing ever felt insurmountable. If a death occurred, it was always an easy, oh well, we'll just give it another go. It wasn't until the Titan where I thought, can I do this? And as someone who was perhaps a bit over-prepared for the Titan in my personal playthrough, I especially appreciated being able to more fully immerse myself in the fear, dread, and hope of the Titan fight. Overall, this challenge has been a ton of fun. I was able to learn a lot about the game, and even pull off a neat trick or two. And I'm so looking forward to continuing this challenge when the next chapters release. Oh wait, chapter 5. Being real, while I absolutely adore this chapter, it really doesn't have a lot to talk about challenge-wise. Standard enemies were solved hours ago, no main flower encounters can be resolved through violence, and all except one require Chris to act. None of them are interesting. With the sole exception of Flowery, of course. This fight also can't be beaten violently, with Ralsei and Susie even going so far as to refuse to attack and heal Flowery when he takes damage. But, even though Chris acts throughout the battle, keeping the rule of only Ralsei being able to be healed and use items does make this fight harder. So much harder in fact, that while the Titan took longer, I lose more times against Flowery than any other chapter's final boss. Like with Spamton, like with the Titan, it'll come down to learning and avoiding attack patterns long enough to wear the enemy down. I get closer and closer with each attempt, and finally get one far enough for Flowery to pull out his ultimate spirit-breaking move of removing Ralsei from the battle. And after a couple more attempts, we finally get past this section, and the final climb and run. And I guess that means Ralsei only is officially completed. It's a shame that this challenge nearly wasn't applicable at all in Chapter 5. If only there was something we could do to... Not only is the secret boss battle a ton of fun, it is also entirely possible to complete Ralsei only. The goal of the pink fight is to raise her Doki meter by flirting with her through the act menu. Ralsei receives 3 acts unique to this battle. Flirt, which costs 8 TP and raises the Doki meter by 1, Mega Flirt, which raises the Doki meter by 5 and costs 60, and Lovely Boy, which costs no TP and raises our max TP by 14%, which is very useful as the fight starts us with only 8. Pink has a variety of attacks that can all be tricky in their own right, but the one to especially look out for is the bomb attack, where she throws 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 bombs that explode in a grid-like pattern. Getting lucky with the bomb patterns or getting better at avoiding them will be a must to finish this battle. Once the Doki bar is filled up, we enter a simple dating sim section where we must select the correct answer from a list of options. The bar must be filled 3 times, and after the first and second fill, more and upgraded attacks are added to Pink's arsenal. After many attempts, I'm able to get to the start of the third and last phase consistently. The bomb attack is no longer an issue, as the big bomb version is easier to dodge. The move causing me the most problems in this phase is the one where little cats fly in from the sides of the screen. But we press on, and on, and on, and on, until finally... This final dating section will see us moving through mazes to collect hearts and avoid dangerous text boxes. It's genuinely a super hype and super funny section, and while relatively easier than the rest of the battle, it's still not entirely free. And now just a few more responses and the fight is won. And now we are done. I have loved playing Deltarune again for this video, and I'm so excited to continue this challenge next year. In the meantime, I'll revisit this idea and head back to Chapter 1 to face Jevil, and hopefully even Chapter 3 to face the Knight. Thanks for watching!